Thank you, everyone. So thank you for waiting for that. We have a wonderful lineup of some speakers who were part of our Latinx Green Chemistry poster winners and some other members of that community. So thank you for joining us today, and we're excited to get started. Just to do an introduction, my name's Gagan. I'm a PhD student at McGill University in Montreal, and that's where I'm joining you today.
I'm Sarah. I'm also a PhD student in Montreal in McGill University. Right now, I'm actually joining you just south of Toronto in Canada.
Hi, everyone. I'm your third co-organizer that's present today. My name is Jasmine Hong, and like Gagan and Sarah, I am also a PhD student at McGill University in Quebec, Canada.
We also have two wonderful speakers who are part of our Australian team who organize the other Green Chemistry Connections. They're not here today, but they're a wonderful part of our team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Boudreau, and this year I'm an ambassador for this year's Green Chemistry Connections, and I'm a fourth-year PhD candidate at Memorial University of Newfoundland. I don't think Michelle can be here today, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.
So we would like to thank our sponsor, Millipore Sigma, for supporting us and helping us basically host these Green Chemistry Connections. And next slide. And since a number of us are located in Montreal at McGill and Concordia, I'll just read the land acknowledgement statement. So McGill University is located on land which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst Indigenous peoples, including the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe nations. McGill honors, recognizes, and respects these nations as the traditional stewards of the lands and waters on which we meet today. We would also like to begin by acknowledging that Concordia University is located on the unceded Indigenous lands. The Gaunagahaga Nation is recognized as the custodians of the lands and waters on which we gather today. And the Tiohtià:ke, or Montreal, is historically known as a gathering place for many First Nations. Today, it is home to a diverse population of Indigenous and other peoples. We respect the continued connections of the past, present, and future in our ongoing relationships with Indigenous and other peoples within the Montreal community.
We would also like to acknowledge that the lands on which Memorial University's campuses are situated are in the traditional territories of diverse Indigenous groups, and we acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and cultures of the Beothuk, Mi'kmaq, Innu, and Inuit of this province.
And then before we get started, just some logistics. We would, if you are able to, please rename yourself to include your pronouns using the drop-down menu on the top right of your picture. This way we can address everybody in the community with the correct pronouns and everybody is respected. Additionally, you can enable live transcripts using the CC button at the bottom of your screen to help out to understand what's going on if you would like to. Additionally, the slides and the transcripts will be made available after the connection, so you're able to watch them later whenever you're available.
So we also have a code of conduct for the Green Chemistry Connection. So at Beyond Benign events, we want everyone to feel welcome and included. By participating, you agree to treat all attendees with respect, regardless of their identities. Discrimination or harassment of any kind will not be tolerated. There are no consequences for reporting inappropriate behaviors. Beyond Benign reserves the right to determine what constitutes inappropriate behavior or unfair treatment and will take appropriate action as needed. Thank you for helping us create a safe and supportive environment for all. And just a general guideline for when we do the breakout rooms, just speak up, introduce yourself briefly, and then step back so that we give others the space for them to introduce themselves as well.
Now I'm just going to go over today's agenda. So we have three wonderful speakers today. The first is Gustavo, who Sarah will be introducing shortly. Followed by his presentation, we'll go into breakout rooms where you can talk to him and ask questions, as well as talk to the GCC Connections team. Following that, there will be a short 5-minute break. And when we're back from the break, we'll have two speakers who are two of the winners of the Latinx Green Chem posters. So it was like a competition on Twitter. And yeah, it'll be cool to hear what they were up to and their work. Following that, there will be breakout rooms, and then there will be a wrap-up. So I'll pass back off.
Our first speaker is Dr. Gustavo Mondragón-Solórzano, and he has a bachelor degree in chemistry from the Autonomous University of the State of Mexico. He got his master's degree in chemical sciences from the National Autonomous University of Mexico in 2019, and his PhD in chemical sciences from the National Autonomous University of Mexico in 2023, under the supervision of Professor Joaquín Barroso-Flores. His research interests rely on the fields of photophysics and photochemistry in biological systems and performing quantum chemistry calculations in large systems. He's also compromised with science dissemination activities, joining as a technical committee of the Red Latinoamericana de Fisicoquímica Teórica in 2020, and then joining LatinXChem in 2021 as part of the technical committee. Then he joined the organizing committee in 2023, and in 2022, he was selected to attend the Lindau Nobel Laureate Meeting in Germany. He joined the group of Professor Sijia S in 2023 as a postdoctoral research associate focused on multiscale methods to study repurposed enzymatic reactions under light conditions.
Okay, great. So, as the kind of introduction that you have already listened about it, I'm Gustavo, I'm from Mexico, and I can share a little bit with you a little of my story first about how I get engaged into chemistry. But this without saying that I was a little bit emotional when I was doing these slides, and just let me try to share with you why it was a little bit emotional about this story, because I know that it's kind of personal, but I'm pretty sure that it's not only my story, but a lot of stories from people that has left their homes, and mostly in Latin America, to being just merged in another culture, in another traditions, in another scheme that it's outside your home, and that conflict, it's like ongoing forever, but it improves through the time, and I'm fortunate to be with kind people. So where am I come from? I'm come from a small town in central Mexico called Ixtlahuaca. Probably you have never heard about this city anymore in your life, but this is a beautiful city with a lot of indigenous traditions, and I can say that 80% of the population is indigenous here. My family is not traditionally from there, but is from southern Mexico that has also strong indigenous traditions from there. So as you can see, this in the church of the town, there's this is a festivity that occurs every October that we call portada. That is, this stuff is made all about flowers, about marigolds, and this is kind of our tradition that we call there. Also, this is like the culture center in there, that it's also a chemist name that was a student of Luis Pasteur, and he was from there, from Ixtlahuaca. So it was kind of the honor that we have from our city. And you have a beautiful point of view from my parents' house in the night, how it looks. It's a very townish population. And then I just moved from this town to study my bachelor in chemistry in Toluca, that I made my thesis in full Spanish, and all my theses were in full Spanish. Compared to other universities in the world, even in Latin America, where their theses, most their PhD theses are written in English, everything in Mexico is written in Spanish, at least in public universities. So all my scientific knowledge and terms come actually from Spanish and not from English. And this barrier language goes over time, and you need to address this point a little bit. So this is this photo with all the group and the beers and everything. It's my first day of masters that we went. There was a meeting at UNAM, and we went for some beers, and there's Joaquin here. That is a pretty good friend, and the next photo is my last day of PhD, which was my PhD defense, with some great friends and colleagues that I have worked with. So for example, is Dr. Jacinto Sandoval, that is a pretty good friend, but where I learned a lot of not only science, but a lot of life skills, and also Spanish from them, because they are pretty good at the language and pretty good scientists too. So I learned a lot from these people, a lot of scientific skills, a lot of how to involve with scientific people, and how to connect with other people too. But you learn everything in one language. That is your home language. And you can listen different words and different comments over your life. So I put it in Spanish and I translate it to let you know about it, because one of the comments that you can see is that the one in the bottom, that you must learn the language if you want to have success in life. That's a comment that came from my mother when I was a teenager, because she was at that moment an English teacher. So it was tricky because in my case, I didn't like to learn other languages, but I knew it's necessary. I cannot deny that it opened a lot of doors to me to learn another language. But another thing, it was that you must stand out from the rest in the TOEFL test. So you need to be certified in English. You need to have a strong knowledge of English in life. And once I get to my bachelor degree and then into my PhD, I learned a lot about this phrase in the top. That is, the learning English is mandatory to be a scientist, which is kind of true because a lot of knowledge is in English. But another thing is the comment that is highlighted in the middle, that is, science that matters is written in English. So this is something that when you see a paper in Spanish, you immediately underestimate that paper because nobody's going to read it, because nobody's going to check it, because nobody is going to take it seriously, which might be concerning at some point because we are invalidating our own native language. So this stuff is kind of part of what you say. Yes, I need to learn in English. I need to learn English. I need to write in English. I need to present everything in English because English is kind of a universal language for it. But one thing is science. Another thing is your native language. And that separation of terms, it's something that costs for us, that we are not native English speakers. So we're native Spanish speakers. We learned everything in Spanish. We need to translate everything to Spanish, and just merge everything into English was a hard thing to do. So it became worse when I was in my PhD, in my postdoc, that I need to think in English and I create my thoughts in English and everything. So it was a little bit hard to me. But I know that this story is not unique to me, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of people has just faced something similar. But now, a little bit of perspective here that let you know, like, if science is written in Spanish and published in Spanish, is it really bad if you don't have any strong English skills and being a scientist? Like, this is the first question, because somebody tells you that the most successful scientists in Mexico and in Latin America used to speak English very well. So it's something that sometimes tells you, like, strength and imposter syndrome, like, I'm not pretty good at English. I'm not pretty good about the language, and not even in my home language. I need to improve it more. And you have these thoughts that are not good and tends to trend you to failure. So that's concerning for a lot of people. So now, what numbers can tell us about this story about being non-native English speakers? So for example, if you compare all those papers published between 2011 and 2020, and this data from Scopus, there were almost 2.5 million published papers around the globe. And only 99,000, a little bit more of 99,000, come from Latin America. 4% of the papers along almost 10 years come from Latin American people. If we compare, for example, with Spain, that is also Spanish native speaker by most, they have almost a little bit less, but it's only one country. So it's not only the very language that they get, the funding is also getting more here in Spain. And Latin America, that the data comes from 24 countries. So between 24 countries, we have 99,000 papers, and we have less citations per publication than Spain. And if we compare to United Kingdom, that is native English speaker, it's, let's say, one country for now. We know that it's merged and other political stuff, but okay, just thinking about one country, there is 100,000 papers, a little bit more than 100,000 papers, and they are more cited. So again, these numbers doesn't look pretty well about it. And we need to enhance somehow the scientific community from our countries. We need to get better in this way. So this might be disappointing. And again, the question, does it mean that I could not success as a Latin American scientist? And long story short, no, because we have a lot of success stories in Latin America about scientific research, about chemistry. For example, these guys that I just show you here are some guys that I know, some guys that I have learned about it. And if you go to every country in Latin America, you can get their own remarked, like the own outstanding chemist there. So you can get the story from Andrés Manuel del Rio that he discovered vanadium that he called erythronium, but there was a discrepancy, so they called vanadium. There's Luis Federico Leloir, that is from Argentina, that he worked with sugar's metabolism and he awarded a Nobel Prize. From Brazil, there's Oswaldo Luis Alves, that he was a pioneer in nanochemistry. In Mexico, there's Luis Ernesto Miramontes, that he was the developer of the contraceptive pill. So the active molecule was developed by him through natural products. No hormones were involved in this process. There's Mario Molina from Mexico also, that he studied climate change, and his work was very important to set all the political agreements nowadays regarding climate change, that he also awarded the Nobel Prize. Think about women, their representation is important also. There's Rebecca Hirschman, that is from Argentina, that she was a pioneer in radical effects in human body, that she was also nominated to the Nobel Prize during her lifetime. And if thinking about also South America, Mariano Eduardo de Rivero, that he was a very important chemist of his age, that he discovered organic minerals and the structure and how they formed. So we have success stories and people that merged into chemistry from everyone. So what does it mean? Science is one. Science goes beyond languages, and we need to get representation from our regions in the world here. So you can track any country and you will find that there is talent in the region. And that's the long story short that I want to get. And that's part of the emotional stuff. Like, we're here, we come from our towns, we come from everywhere to do science, not to live in another country precisely, but to do science here. And now we need a space to discuss science. Let me guide you to this process, because I was with Joaquin, but I was never merged in LatinXChem by Joaquin. So the year was 2020. The COVID started, the pandemic started, and we know that story. In Latin America, the budget was decreased a lot in several countries regarding scientific and science and research. So it was concerning a little bit during those days. Previously in 2018, I remember Joaquin just telling that he was, he still is a person on Twitter, and he likes to engage with other scientists from the world. Also, he has a very well-known computational chemistry blog, so that allows him to engage with a lot of people. And I can tell you that the truth, because when I came to my postdoc here, even my actual PI, that she's from China, and she told him, thank you very much for your blog, because that allowed me to have success in my PhD and my undergrad. So you can see the power of internet, the power of social media here, because he was involved and engaged in social media, and he is engaged and involved in social media. Also, Miguel Mendez, that he's from another region in Mexico called Puebla. He's also engaged in social media, he's engaged in Twitter, and they are both in the discussion. And you have the other vision of another computational chemistry chemist called Gabriel Merino, that he's pretty good at organizing events. Probably he's not the best person for social media. He's a pretty good scientist. He knows how to connect with people. He knows how to networking and create events and organize events. So together, the three with the pandemics they decided and just asking like, why not creating an online space for networking, discussing science, but in our language? There was this idea of the RSC poster that is still ongoing, and I have participated in 2017, 2018, and I remember to participate in those, but they were in English, and they said like, why not in Spanish? Why not in our languages? And in the first edition, they expected not having more than 500 participants by most, which it was like they were impressed that they got more than 1,000 participants in the first edition. So this is the first logo. So they created this space, and there's a lot of people that joined after. So there's Braulio from Mexico, there's Fernanda Duarte that is from Chile, but she's in Oxford. There is Gabriel Dos Passos that he's from Brazil, but he's here in the US right now. He was in Canada in those days. There's Ariane Nunes that she is also from Brazil, and she's in Germany. There's a lot of Latin American presence around the globe that we're doing a great job. So everyone joined through the same idea. In our language, we can discuss science from our homes to get a better perspective of our own projects, to enhance our community and to connect to other people in a horizontal way. So it was a way to say, let's democratize this scientific research for everyone, and everyone can participate and get engaged. So only PIs and few postdocs were involved in 2020. And over the time, this stuff changed a lot. So after 5 years, PhD and postdocs get involved since 2021. And I was invited directly by Gabriel, not by Joaquin. Joaquin was very happy to be there, and I was just like a person that was claiming everybody just participating, but it was spontaneous from my side. And Gabriel noticed that from Twitter, and I was in the Latin American network of computational chemistry and physicochemical chemistry. And he invited to me like, okay, we need people here in LatinXChem. Do you want to join us? And I was just working with him in another project. And I said, yes, why not? Let's get involved. And yeah, I was in my PhD during that time. So together with Francisca, with other people that has been involved, this project evolved to have a strong presence with more than approximately 1,000 posters presented every year. Around 10 chemistry categories. So these categories go from analytical, computational, biochemistry, organic, inorganic chemistry, green chemistry, environmental chemistry. Green chemistry is the first time it's presented, thanks also to Young B9 and Juliana and Cynthia, that I guess they are here, so thanks. And kudos to them to organize the category. So we have also approximately 3 talks from invited people every year. We have counted with the presence of Nobel Prizes. We have counted with presence of people like last year from Brazil, Elisa Souza, that she is committed with environmental chemistry and toxicology. Also, we counted with the presence of Javier Garcia Martinez, that he's a former president of EUPAC. And this was the first time also that we merged into 2 social media. It was a little bit forced because there was a ban from X in Brazil, and we didn't want to exclude Brazilian people from participating. So we decided to join LinkedIn instead. Also, we can proudly say that the legal name is registered in Mexico, so we're getting more a solid figure of LatinXChem to the countries. So we have been sponsored by a lot of industries, academies, and beyond. So the Royal Society of Chemistry has been important for us to being strongly supported, together with Springer, together with the Brazilian Chemical Society, together with Chemistry Europe, but also we have counted with the support over the years of the American Chemical Society. We can consider also the contributions from local societies like the Organic Chemistry Mexican Academy, among others. So it's a good presence that we have counted. So we have a global presence. We receive every year participants from all the continents. It's the first time almost all Latin American countries have participated. So the new edition from this year was Bolivia. It's the first time we have some participants from Bolivia. So it's important to get engaged more people and to let people know that they can discuss science in their languages. They can merge their languages. They can just discuss about their work, about their job, and get engaged and better into their projects. So it's a good initiative for having a representation over there. And now what's next? We need to find some funding opportunities for sure, because this project is ongoing, but nobody's getting paid here. So everyone has their own time, everybody has their own schedule, everybody's working in their PhDs, in their postdocs, as PIs. They have their own schedule, and the schedule is limited. So these limitations sometimes plays against us. Like somebody require us for something, for certificates, for some inquiries. So we need to be there, but also we have other schedules like 2-3 meetings per week. So we need to find some funding opportunities to get a little bit more of motivation to do this job. We were thinking about an on-site meeting, but keeping the online meeting. This on-site meeting would allow us to meet in a region and for sure engage more people from Latin American origin, because we're not also interested in people that is based on Latin America. We're interested in people that has left Latin America to work outside their home countries, which is kind of tricky to us to adapt to a different regime. And we can't with a presence from there. And the chemistry discussion, we need to ensure also the high quality in the presented projects. I mean, we need to show also that we can do an amazing job, that everyone can do an amazing job. And by doing this, science is one, and there's one language and one structure the scientific projects need to have. So by considering the judges' help, we can ensure this quality, this high quality in the presented posters, and trying to avoid unethical processes, just like plagiarism, for example, or showing just ideas or uncompleted posters, and continuing giving space to spread what Latin Americans do in chemical sciences. So that's our goal, like short-term goals, something very technical, something idealistic, but this is what we do. This is our story and the story of a lot of Latin Americans in Latin America and outside Latin America, that they can do science beyond the language, that English is not that. It is important because you need to read papers in English. You need to learn how to read papers and how to write papers in English, but they can still do science without learning that. So by saying this, I want to see a little space of reflection. I know that I have some Latin Americans people here, but we know that we leave our countries and sometimes we are merged as we are one culture, like everything below USA, it's Mexico, which is certainly not true. I just put a meme, just everyone to be in the same mood. It's just a joke. We know that it's just a joke. So we're different cultures with similar problems and issues because we have faced here at Northeastern at lunchtimes. Here there is a strong Brazilian community. There's Salvadorian people. There's people from Colombia, and we talk about the same problems, but different cultures. We have something that joins us as the problems in funding, the problems in resources that we get, but we are strong to get farther and getting better. So sometimes we need to migrate outside our countries, but that doesn't mean that we cannot do anything from our countries. So we need to make it worth it. And your regional identity is part of you. So let's feel proud about it, wherever you are in the world, and make it worth it. So this is my reflection for you. This is the space, and LatinXChem is your space if you want to share and discuss chemistry in your native languages, if you're not versed in English, but you're versed in Portuguese, you're versed in Spanish, you're more than welcome to participate with us for next year and other editions. And well, as I said, there's a lot of people engaged here. This is our technical committee that you can see they come from different environments and from different countries, most from Mexico, most from Brazil, but there is an Ecuadorian presence, a Colombian presence, a Chilean presence here. So kudos to all of them because the job, the hard work is done by them, by Edgar, by Christian, by Alejandro, by Felipe, by Laisa, by Armando, by Lisette, Natalie, Silmara, and Mario. So kudos to all of them that are involved in this job beside their schedule, beside their lack of money to do this. So thanks to all who participates in this project. We have a space to share chemistry. And well, this is my last reflection, and I'm open to any questions, comment, or thoughts that you have. So thank you so much. Muchas gracias por el espacio.